In this video, we're going to learn how to set up passwordless sign-in or magic link authentication. In this case, we're going to be using Airtable, but if you want to use Supabase or Firebase, you can apply these same learnings there. Alright, the first thing you have to do is add Airtable to My Apps. Once you have this ready, you can go to the Auth panel, and here we can set up our authentication layer. So we're going to expand this drop-down over here, and under App, we're going to choose Airtable. Now we have to specify the user location. And in Airtable, I already created a project that I called Wized Rocks, and here we can see table 1 contains our user base. It has an email field, a password field, and here I added a formula field which gets the record ID. Alright, so let's pick our base here. I'm going to choose Wized Rocks. Under Table, I'm going to select Table 1, and here I have to add the email and password fields. Now, although we're using passwordless sign-in, we still have to select this password field here. Alright, now that our setup is configured, let's start building our first requests. The first thing I'm going to add is this create user request, and this is going to be applied to this sign up page. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, and here we can see that a data out request has been created and all of these fields have been pre-filled. But we still have to add some other fields here. So first we're going to add the email input field, so the user can provide an email address. So we're going to expand this field, we're going to go under general, and here I already applied this input email with the attribute in my Webflow project. So I'm going to select this here. Password, I can leave this empty because it's passwordless login. And here under page, I can specify the page to which I want to redirect the user once they click on the email link. In this case, I want to redirect users to the dashboard when they log in. So I'm going to write dashboard, my schools. And this corresponds to this page over here. So dashboard, my schools. Perfect. Now, if you have additional user information, such as the user's name, address, etc., you can add these fields here. Alright, now that we have our create user request in place, let's do the same thing for our login user request. So I'm going to create a new request. Here under email, I'm going to add this email input. Now note that both on the sign up form and the login form, I have exactly the same attribute applied to the input. Here under page, I'm going to add the same URL. So dashboard, my schools. Perfect. And that's it. Now we can go to the actions panel and we can add a new action. This action is going to trigger our sign up request, and then we're going to do the same thing for our login request. So here I'm going to call it submit sign up. I'm going to apply this to this button over here. And under configuration, I'm going to select on click, perform request, create user. Perfect. And now I can just duplicate this action over here and do the same thing for login. Apply to login, submit login, on click, perform request, login user. Perfect. And now if we refresh the page, we can see that this request will get executed as soon as the user fills in the form. So let's go to page data, let's expand our create user request, and if we add an email address here and we submit it, we can see that this request got triggered. Perfect. And this request was successful. We can see here we have status code 200, and in the response we got the user's email address and a record ID. This means that by now I probably received an email with my login token. And indeed, here it is. So if I click on this sign me in link, note that the page is covered with a loader over here. So in our next steps, we're going to hide this loader. And also you can see that we got redirected to the right URL. We have dashboard, my schools. but also our URL contains some additional information. We can see here that we have something called a query parameter. And this query parameter is called login token, and it contains our login token. So we can just copy this value, and we're going to need this in our next step. Now that we're back in Wized, we can go to the Auth panel again, and we're going to build this load user request. So we're going to click on this plus sign over here. Under method, we're going to select load user, and we're going to trigger this request whenever this attribute is present on the page. Logo dashboard. Now this is an attribute that's present only on dashboard pages. And now if we go to any dashboard page like My Schools or Settings, we can see that this request gets executed. However, we're getting an error here. And this is because we don't have an auth token inside of the configurator. So we have to add it manually in this case. So we're going to click on Canvas here. We're going to click Add. And here we're going to write login token. And we're going to paste our token in here. And now we can see that the current URL is this URL with the login token. And there we go. If we refresh the canvas, we can see that the user has been loaded. Perfect. Now we can use this request to hide the loader. So for that, we're going to create a new action. We can call it display loader. And we're going to apply it to our loader element. Here under configuration, I'm going to choose set visibility, and the element is going to be visible if the load user request is currently being executed, or if the request has finished executing, but it wasn't successful. So we're going to write has requested and status code does not equal 200. Okay, so if the user is not successfully loaded, we're going to display this loader. So we don't want users to be able to see the dashboard unless they're logged in. Perfect. If we refresh the canvas now, since our user is getting successfully loaded, we can see that the loader disappears here. Perfect, we can access our dashboard now. Now it's time to apply some access control rules. Basically, access control rules will redirect users to the login page if they are not logged in. So here we're going to choose on which pages do we want to apply these access control rules, and I want to apply this on every page that's within the dashboard. So I'm going to select this same logo dashboard attribute, and here under condition I'm going to specify the following. I'm going to expand the load user request, and we're going to do pretty much the same that we did before with the loader. We're just going to invert the logic. So we're going to write here if is requesting is true, or if has requested is true, and status code equals 200. Now, what does this mean? This means that the user can stay on the page if the request is currently being executed or if the user was successfully loaded. Perfect. Otherwise, we want to redirect the users to this home page over here, which is our login page. Perfect. Now, if we refresh the canvas, we can still stay on the page because the user was successfully loaded. However, if we would log out, then we would get redirected to the login page. All right. Our last request, which we're going to build, is our logout user request. And we're going to apply this on this logout button. So let's click on logout user. And here we're also going to add an after request action. We want to redirect the users immediately to the login page. So we're going to write navigate to this login page over here. Perfect. Now let's build a trigger for our logout button. So we're going to go to actions. Here we're going to write logout user. And we're going to apply this to our logout button. Under configuration, we're going to select on click, perform request, logout user. Perfect. And now we can refresh our canvas. we can see we're logged in, but if we click on this logout button, we're going to get redirected to the login page. So let's now see the whole flow in action. We can see here that if I try to access the dashboard, my schools, I'm going to get redirected to the login page. If I fill in my credentials here, I write my email address, and I click on this link, I'm redirected to the dashboard. And this is how you can set up magic link authentication for your project. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.